Greetings and welcome. My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, licensed presenters, the Core New Core, my patrons, Clayton and Stephanie and Ruby and Jonathan. I think I have that order right. And it's also, this broadcast is also meant for anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor. Whatever that means. And in my notes I just had one big word here, tension. As though that's the only subject that I have to discuss, or maybe the last most important subject I have to discuss, at least for the moment that I'm in here, and that's about tension. And in my sign language, tension, right? Tension. And to create that tension, you've got to create that tension somehow, and maybe it happens by squeezing in the middle, or just pulling in the middle. The only way I can even consider it anymore is recognizing that the body engages in oppositional rotation between axes to move through space. It's just millions of years of evolution. The body can rotate here and here and here, at the knees and the ankles and the metatarsals. And when they're symphonically engaged or engaged with each other, it's the way you get to the number 2 in Joe's book, Contrology Develops the Body Uniformly, comma, more sentence, but that's the part of the sentence that comes right after the definition that MMP takes to mean whole body, and suggests that to get to whole body requires core new tension. I know that's an assumption, that's a presumption, that's an opinion. But in the opinion, the fact of the matter is that the body and how it has the ability to interact at rotational dynamics within it can create tension between points, between rotational points. And it's through that interaction between 2 points that you get tension, that you get this. So I'm talking about tension because Joe's talking about contrology develops the body uniformly. In MMP, that means engaging in core new tension with an understanding that that's a fact of the matter anyway, and that in an understanding that's how the biomechanics of your body is engaging itself to move through space. You can not only seek to engage yourself muscularly from understanding that oppositional rotation between axes is possible, and that the interaction of the tension between endpoints is the way you distribute the load of the body. And why are we talking about the load of the body? because of gravity, right? It all comes back to gravity. And then tension is the way that we deal with gravity in order to move. If we were just a thought or a whisper or non-corporeal, we may just beam ourselves wherever our thought went, supposedly. But we're in a body and we got to get our body somewhere. And to do that in gravity requires tension, requires muscular engagement. And when you set up muscular engagement between 2 points, so the ability to rotate is battery power, and the ability to rotate and rotate is battery power. Just a metaphor, don't freak out. Just like batteries exist within this light, right? And yet it's the tension of the battery power that creates an effect beyond just what's in the battery. And so just like in fluorescence, everybody wants to see it turned on, of course. Let's do it way back here and turn on between shoulders and ears. You see the difference? You see the levels? In a way, that's like diving into doing Pilates and finding that there's higher levels of brilliance to your effort. Not in the quality of your effort, but in the light that you emit and the level of focus that you achieve. The amount of presence that you attain. It just means presence in the moment. Survive in the jungle of what? Of gravity. And it's because of gravity. See, if I back up in the sign language, gravity forces the issue of alignment. Alignment is sensational via tension between 2 points. And the takeaway from core tension is uniform engagement and a sensation of alignment. Where else do you go to get that? Meaning, I'm too quick to say that. Just in my world, that's a big deal. That this name called core tension refers to oppositional rotation between axes, and that happens through different endpoints of rotation in the body, and that the body has evolved over millions of years in its ability to engage in that way to enable itself to move through space. I am just pointing a light to the fact of the biomechanics that are not only pretty easy to absorb if you're willing to look at them, but the best part is that to the extent that you get into the level of flexibility and strength, freedom of range, that you can engage in core tension, it's like, oh yeah. And that so if I hold this up and let it go, what happens? It drops. Why? Because of gravity. If I hold it here down lower, what happens? It still drops. Why? Because gravity is the same everywhere. It's a uniform field. So to me, as a biological organism, it makes sense that if I'm going to haul my water balloon through space, that I do it as effectively as possible within gravity. And so why is number 2 so important right out of Joe's book? Contrology develops the body uniformly. It's because we're trying to survive in a uniform medium called gravity. And the best way we can do that is swim like a fish through an ocean of air. And that happens by how we engage our musculature. And as we all know, the pursuit of whole body in Pilates is to not just let major muscles participate, but to distribute the load, to have a uniform engagement of musculature. In the MMP point of view, the way that that happens, as a matter of fact, is through core nu tension. And the two takeaways from that matter are that, indeed, core nu tension distributes the load most evenly. It's the most uniform way to engage the musculature of your body, because because your body is accomplishing the physics that it needs to move through space, to survive in the jungle. So uniform matters because we're in a uniform gravity field, and the more we're able to engage ourselves uniformly, the more we take on the characteristics of, or honors maybe, the characteristics of the medium that we're in and trying to survive in. So, what I hope you're hearing from me is that to accomplish number 2 in the 5 things I hope you become a presenter in someday. Number 2 is contrology develops the body uniformly. In the pursuit of that, right after Joe's sequence, in terms of the 3 things from Joe that Pilates comes from, there's a definition of core nu tension, which came out of the pursuit of developing the body uniformly. And how do you do that? What's going on when that happens? Just look and see the biomechanics in the body as they have evolved to what they are, and the nature to what they're accomplishing and what comes out of it. Uniform engagement, whole body, and a sensation of alignment. And how do you get that? Through tension. And that's the main thing, is tension. And in the beginning of a student's journey in Pilates, the more fully equipped the instructor is with the domain of a Pilates studio, the more options you have in supplying tension, providing tension, using tension, to help a person perform the choreography knowing that. What's the key takeaway here? I hope I remember this for Facebook. The key takeaway, I'm going to forget it already. So my number 2 comment is doing Pilates is an attunement to the moment that you're in. It's just like striking a tuning fork, yes, and diminishes over time in its effort or in its event, in the focus that comes out of that. And that's twice 2 trains. My statement, or my number 2 title, is that Pilates, doing Pilates, attunes you to the moment that you're in. Because it's about being present in the moment, is my point to that. And from the MMP point of view, that presence comes from coordinating the capacities within the human being, and that observing being one of them, and the connection between the 2 parts of the brain, amygdala and hippocampus and then connected to and interacting with the prefrontal cortex, where all the thinking goes on. MMP is simple. Body, mind, and spirit is your body, your prefrontal cortex, and your amygdala, hippocampal areas of the brain. There's 3 parts. That all you do when you try to do the choreography is coordinate them, and the necessary part is the observing is present tense continuous. Try to be, right? The effort to coordinate. Fleeting. And fleeting. I guess fleeting is a good word. So, my conclusion, and I'm not sure how it concludes, about the tension, right? See, it's a gravity game. And the way you get to be like gravity is through tension. And the body has the capacity of making oppositional tension between axes, easily demonstrable. And that from that tension between those axes of rotation, you make more efficient engagement of musculature. You distribute the load more ideally. When you know what you know from the CT and MMP POV, you know why. You know what. You know how. And if you know why and what and how, then you're likely to survive in any field you can apply those words to. Life can't live forever. Read between the lines, see behind the curtain. Connect the dots, evaluate points of view, and then add 2 and 2, because you have to direct your thinking, or try to direct some of it. Geist,